Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. So this book is Carnegie's Maid by Marie Benedict. And this is the second book that I've read by Marie Benedict. She just did Personal Librarian a few years ago, and I read that a few months back, so you guys might remember that one. And I really liked Personal Librarian, minus that it was kind of long and a little bit wordy. But I liked some of the historic facts that she put in there, and kind of just how she wove the story into what reality is, but also just kind of like what was going on at that time in history. And so I was excited originally to read Carnegie's Maid. As I got into the book, I realized that Personal Librarian, I think, was written after Carnegie's Maid. And I think because she had a co-author on Personal Librarian, that person was able to kind of correct a lot of her historical inaccuracies. And so a lot of those historical inaccuracies don't get corrected in Carnegie's Maid. And so the story is about a girl who is an immigrant. She comes from Ireland, which is very stereotypical of the 1800s, because, Irish potato famine. And so she immigrates to America, and as she's standing on the docks, she hears somebody call her name, and that person is actually looking for somebody else with the exact same name, which is supposedly a very common name in Ireland, Clara Kelly. And so she kind of just falls in with it and winds up becoming a maid to Mrs. Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie's mother. And if you don't know who Carnegie is, that would be the same Carnegie that is Carnegie Hall, steel iron giant person, that particular Carnegie. And so she becomes the maid to his mother, the kind of right hand of his mother for several years, from the Civil War all the way through close to the end of the decade. I think it's like 1867. So that's kind of the gist of the story. It is a little bit of a love story because they kind of fall in love, but then her secret's found out. We know how that goes. Very, very predictable, right? We also know that Carnegie didn't get married for another like 25 years after that. So obviously she's not that person. But there was just a lot of historical inaccuracy. And not so much with like dates and times or anything like that. At least not that I noticed. I was more stuck on like the way that things were decorated, and they kept talking about the bathroom with Carrara marble and running water. And I'm like, not in 1863. So there was stuff like that that I was just like, oh my gosh, that's really annoying. But I got very invested in the story, just kind of the way that she tells the story. I kind of liked that. The only other issue I had with this book was that one of the supporting characters is the cook, and he is a formerly enslaved person who's now living in Pittsburgh. And obviously working for the Carnegies. And so it was just a very stereotypical, tragic story of Black people in the Civil War and post-antebellum life. And I just felt that it was kind of used as a trope and not as something that was actually meaningful to the story. Very much like, he's going to be nice to the new immigrated white girl, and he's going to be so supportive of the new immigrated white girl, and he's going to be her only friend. It was just very predictable up front. So I didn't really appreciate that little storyline, or really kind of what happened with him trying to find his wife and daughter who were missing somewhere in the South. While he was toiling away up in the north, trying to find them or whatever. It just read wrong. Not that those stories aren't true stories, or that people didn't experience that, because a lot of people did, but I felt like it was just a misuse of that particular storyline in that particular situation. So There you have it. Carnegie's Maid. I'm giving it a 3. It's definitely an interesting read if you can turn off your rational brain, and it's a fun read just to kind of imagine what would have happened, or what could have happened, that made Andrew Carnegie become such a big philanthropist in his later life. So that is the end of this book review. So thank you all for watching. Thank you everybody for giving me book suggestions. I got a lot more book suggestions that have come in, and so I've just added them to the list. I don't know when I'm going to get to them necessarily, but I'm hoping to get to them soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.